Most of us live with a quiet, invisible tension, a subtle urge to get it right, to finally figure out what we're meant to do, who we're supposed to be, and how we can finally feel like we've arrived. From school to career to relationships, we're conditioned to pursue clarity as if it's a prize we must earn. We plan, strategize, chase success, and chase meaning, like they're things hiding just beyond the next milestone. But what if the clarity you're seeking is not out there to be found, but already in you, quietly waiting for you to remember it? This is where our old beliefs start to dissolve. What if purpose isn't something we must build, but something we must surrender to? What if the need to make life happen is actually the very thing that blocks the flow of what's meant for us? When we see life through the lens of control, we unknowingly step into resistance. We tighten, we force, and we disconnect from the deeper intelligence that has always been guiding us from within. This idea can feel both liberating and terrifying. For so long, we've equated purpose with effort. We believe that the more we control, the more we know, the safer and more successful our lives will be. But the truth is, control is often a disguise for fear. It's fear of being unworthy, fear of being left behind, fear of letting life move through us without the armor of plans and strategies. You don't have to figure it out the way you've been taught. You don't have to hustle your way into alignment. The soul does not speak the language of control. It speaks the language of resonance, and to hear it, we must quiet the noise, soften the grip, and allow ourselves to unlearn everything we thought we knew about purpose. Where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? Take a breath with that question. Let it sit not just in your mind, but in your chest, your gut, your body, because your body is where the soul whispers. And those whispers are so easily drowned by the loudness of the world, the shoulds, the timelines, the expectations. The blueprint of your life is not written on a chalkboard in the sky, it's etched into your being. But here's the paradox: you can't access it through striving. You access it through stillness, through deep listening, through presence. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful realizations come not when you're trying, but when you're finally still? When you're walking alone in nature or staring at the ceiling in the quiet moments before sleep? That's when the soul speaks. Not with words, but with knowing. We are all born with a blueprint. Not a rigid script, but a frequency, a calling, a unique vibration that harmonizes with certain experiences, people, and paths. When we follow that resonance, life unfolds in ways our mind could never have designed. But when we resist it, when we live from the mind's agenda rather than the soul's longing, we feel the friction, anxiety, burnout, restlessness, and confusion. Think of your purpose not as a job title or a mission statement, but as a vibration you are here to embody. A state of being that, when tuned into, naturally draws the right experiences into your field. That means you don't have to push so hard. You don't have to force doors open that aren't yours to walk through. You simply need to become so deeply yourself that your life rearranges around that truth. This is not passive, it's powerful. It's the difference between swimming against the current and allowing the current to carry you, not aimlessly, but with a deeper intelligence that your mind may not understand, but your soul always recognizes. What are you gripping so tightly, hoping it will save you, validate you, complete you? Let that go. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally waking up. You're waking up to the truth that life doesn't need to be chased. It needs to be met. Met from within. Met from presence. Met from the stillness where your soul blueprint begins to emerge like the first light of dawn. Soft, quiet, but unmistakably true. This is the beginning of real alignment. Not knowing what to do next, but knowing who you are becoming. And from that place, the path reveals itself, one aligned moment at a time. To understand the soul's blueprint, we must step into a new paradigm, one rooted in the invisible, the energetic, the quantum. Not in the academic sense of particle physics or equations, but in the way that your thoughts, emotions, and intentions ripple into the unseen field of possibility. Picture it like this. Your inner world, what you believe, what you feel, what you imagine, is like a tuning fork that sends vibrations into a vast ocean of potential. That ocean responds not to what you say you want, but to the frequency you hold. We are energetic beings immersed in a quantum field, a field that does not judge or reason, but mirrors. It reflects your inner state as outer experience. If you're vibrating in lack, the field brings you experiences that echo that lack. If you're resonating in wholeness, synchronicity begins to find you. And no, this isn't about being positive all the time. That's just spiritual wallpapering. It's about being true, being coherent, being aware of what frequency you're actually broadcasting. Your soul came into this life not as a blank slate, but with a signature, a pattern of energies, lessons, gifts, and desires that are uniquely yours. Some call it a divine contract. Others call it a soul imprint. It doesn't matter what you name it. What matters is that you begin to sense it, to feel into it, to live in such a way that honors it. When you're out of alignment with this inner code, life feels like pushing a boulder uphill. But when you're aligned, even if it's messy, even if it's unclear, there's flow, there's guidance, there's an undercurrent of rightness you can't explain. You've likely felt this before. Moments when something just clicks, even if it defies logic. Moments where the conversation you needed appears out of nowhere. Where you feel an electric sense of knowing in your chest that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. That's quantum alignment. It's when your internal frequency meets its match in the field, and reality shifts to meet you. But many of us were trained to ignore this. We were taught to use our rational minds, to calculate, to climb ladders built by someone else's blueprint. And so we drift. We become successful by society's terms, but empty by the soul's standards. We lose touch with the quiet knowing that was once so clear to us as children, before the world convinced us to doubt it. Ask yourself, where in my life am I still outsourcing my authority? Where have I traded inner resonance for external approval? Quantum awareness is not some distant mystical ideal. It's practical magic. It's living in such a way that honors what feels deeply true, even if it's inconvenient, even if others don't understand. It's trusting that the soul knows the way, even when the path looks like a detour. Because sometimes, the wrong turn is actually the fastest way home. And this doesn't mean abandoning reason, it means integrating it. Letting your logic serve your intuition rather than silence it. Imagine your soul as a compass and your mind as the map. When they work together, your life begins to flow, not without challenge, but without resistance. You start to meet people who reflect parts of your purpose. You begin to notice recurring signs, patterns, nudges. And those aren't coincidences, they're quantum echoes. They're confirmations from the field that you are in tune with something larger than yourself. When you stop trying to force reality to match your timeline and start listening for resonance, everything changes. Because you are not here to manufacture your destiny. You're here to remember it. This is quantum awareness, the recognition that you are both the observer and the co-creator, that your beingness is creative, that your energy speaks and the universe listens. The soul's blueprint is not activated through effort, it's revealed through frequency. When you shift your frequency, your entire life begins to reconfigure itself to match it. So the question becomes, what energy are you living from? Because the field is always responding. We often think of purpose as something grand, something written in the stars or awarded after a heroic journey. But more often, purpose lives in the small, invisible moments, the ones we usually ignore. It whispers through synchronicities, gut instincts, sudden clarity, and the mysterious pull we feel toward certain people, places, or ideas. These are not random. They are fragments of a larger design speaking to you in the only language the soul knows. Resonance. Have you ever had a conversation with someone you just met that felt like a reunion? Or made a decision without logic that later turned out to be perfect? Those are not accidents, they're echoes. The soul communicates in these subtle, deeply personal nudges. But we often dismiss them, brushing off our inner knowing as coincidence or imagination, because we've been taught to trust the outer world more than the inner one. To live from your soul blueprint, you must begin to trust these subtle signals. You must start noticing the small moments that feel electric with recognition or heavy with misalignment. Life is constantly speaking to you through feeling, not through logic. Every time you ignore what drains you or silence what excites you, you step further from your path. And every time you honor those feelings, even in small ways, you step closer. Real-life purpose does not always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like leaving a well-paying job because it slowly kills your spirit. Sometimes it's choosing to rest when the world tells you to hustle. Sometimes it's listening to the call to create, to nurture, to begin again, without needing a reason. These are not detours. They are destinations disguised as ordinary choices. This path asks for radical honesty. What lights you up when no one's watching? What would you do if there were no prizes, no praise, no applause? Those are clues. That's your soul speaking. But listening isn't always easy, especially when the world is loud with expectations and comparison, especially when your truth doesn't look like anyone else's. Yet this is where your power begins, when you stop trying to fit into a story that was never yours and begin living the one you were born for. It may not be linear, it may not make sense to others, but it will feel like coming home to yourself. Think back on the moments in your life that felt charged with something more. Moments of wonder, moments of pain that strangely clarified your values, moments where time stood still. What if those were all breadcrumbs? What if they were your soul's way of pointing you back to your design? Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like a breeze moving through tall grass. Sometimes it's a gentle ache in your chest that says, "There's more for you than this." And that ache is sacred. It's not a sign you're broken, it's a sign you're waking up. So begin to live like your soul is real. Begin to believe that the things you long for are not random, but revelations. Let your life be a response to what you know deep down, not what you've been told from the outside. Ask yourself now, what moments in your life have felt like truth without explanation? You don't have to justify your resonance, you just have to follow it. That is how the blueprint reveals itself, one electric moment at a time. If you've ever tuned a radio, you know that static isn't a lack of signal, it's the presence of too many conflicting ones. And the same is true within us. The noise, the doubt, the emotional fog, they aren't evidence that our soul is missing, but that it's being drowned out. To access the soul's blueprint, we must become attuned. We must fine-tune our inner instrument so that it sings in harmony with the frequency of who we truly are. This isn't about forcing positivity or chasing peak experiences. It's about creating coherence inside yourself. Coherence is when your mind, body, and heart are in agreement. When what you think, what you feel, and what you do are aligned. When you live in coherence, your energy becomes a clear signal in the quantum field. You begin to feel more grounded, more intuitive, more magnetically connected to the right people and opportunities. But coherence isn't something you stumble into. It's cultivated. It requires deep honesty and deliberate practice. It begins with noticing. What thoughts dominate your internal dialogue? Are they rooted in fear or trust? Do you treat your emotions as messengers or as problems to fix? Do you listen to your body or override it in the name of productivity? Every day, you are broadcasting a signal, not with your words, but with your being. And if you want your reality to shift, the first step isn't rearranging your outer world. It's shifting your inner frequency. That starts with presence. with choosing to become aware of how you're showing up in each moment and where you're choosing from, fear or alignment. Many of us carry old programming, beliefs we inherited, absorbed, or repeated so many times that we think they're facts. I'm not good enough. I have to prove myself. Success means sacrifice. These frequencies don't match your soul. And as long as they run your system, your energy will be split and your blueprint will stay buried under layers of distortion. So how do we begin to tune ourselves? We begin with breath, with silence, with asking not, what should I do today, but who do I choose to be today? We begin with honoring our emotional states instead of suppressing them. We allow grief to move through. We allow joy to expand. We stop controlling and start listening. Journaling can help you catch the loops that no longer serve. Meditation allows you to reset your nervous system and reconnect to stillness. Embodiment practices like dancing, walking, breathing deeply reunite you with the wisdom of your body. These are not luxuries, they are tools of inner alignment, and perhaps most importantly, we begin to speak to ourselves with reverence. Your internal language is a spell you cast over your life. Words matter. Intention matters. When you declare, "I trust myself," even before you fully believe it, you begin to shift your energy. When you say, "I release what no longer serves me," the field listens. Ask yourself now, what frequency am I feeding with my attention? Every fear you coddle, every resentment you replay, every time you abandon yourself to meet someone else's expectations, you are dimming your signal. But every moment you choose honesty, softness, courage, you amplify it. And when you consistently show up in that way, your outer world begins to recalibrate. People shift, opportunities emerge, blocks dissolve. Not because you forced anything, but because you became a match for the life that was always meant for you. This is tuning. This is alignment. This is the slow, sacred work of becoming a clear channel for your soul's truth. You don't have to be perfect to be in alignment. You just have to be willing to pause, to feel, to ask better questions, to choose better thoughts, to move from love, not lack. Because when your frequency is clear, your purpose becomes inevitable. There comes a point when the inner work begins to crystallize into outer expression. You've cleared the static, tuned your frequency, and now life starts meeting you where you are. Not because the universe suddenly noticed you, but because you finally noticed yourself. This is the phase of embodiment. It's not about arriving at a perfect version of you. It's about living each day as a vessel for your soul's truth. Embodiment is when your values become your voice. When your presence becomes your practice. It's when the way you move through the world carries the signature of who you truly are. You no longer live in reaction to life. You become a creative force within it. From this space, even the most mundane acts become sacred. A conversation becomes healing. A choice becomes a turning point. A pause becomes a prayer. But here's what many forget. Living your purpose isn't about what you do, it's about how you do it. The blueprint is not some fixed career path or spiritual mission. It's a way of being that transforms whatever you touch. You can embody your purpose as a teacher, an artist, a parent, a barista, a healer, a coder. Purpose is not the role, it's the resonance. When you embody your soul's blueprint, you stop seeking significance through performance. You don't need to impress or convince. Your energy speaks louder than your words. And people feel it. They are drawn to it. Because what's rare in this world is not talent or status, it's authenticity. And authentic energy is magnetic. This doesn't mean you'll never feel lost or unsure again. It means that even in the fog, you trust the path beneath your feet. You begin to see challenges as recalibrations, not punishments. You meet uncertainty with curiosity, not panic. You stop chasing purpose as a destination and start expressing it as a frequency in every interaction. And this way of living, this deep-rooted, aligned existence, becomes its own form of leadership. Not the kind that demands a spotlight, but the kind that quietly shifts rooms. People watch how you walk through the world and begin to question their own disconnection. Your embodiment gives others permission to remember their own. So ask yourself now, with unflinching honesty, where in your life are you still pretending? Where are you shrinking, performing, waiting for approval? What would it look like to stop waiting? To show up today as if you were already the version of yourself you dream of becoming. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more presence. It needs more people who are willing to live from the inside out, who dare to trust their own timing, their own rhythm, their own deep knowing. You don't need a massive following or a polished plan. You just need to live your truth so fully that the blueprint inside you can no longer stay hidden. And when you do, life responds in kind. Because when your frequency is clear and embodied, the field rearranges itself to support your becoming. This is not magic. This is alignment in action. You are not here to play a role. You are here to be a revelation. So speak like someone who knows they matter. Move like someone whose steps are guided. Create like someone who carries light in their hands. Be the evidence of what's possible when a soul remembers who it is. And know this: you were never lost. You were only layered under every doubt, fear, and delay. The blueprint remained intact. And now, as you walk in alignment, you become the map for others to follow. You've now journeyed through the landscapes of resonance, frequency, and soul alignment. And maybe something inside you has softened. Not because all the answers have arrived, but because a deeper part of you feels seen. That part of you has always known you are more than your roles, more than your fears, more than your to-do lists. You are a frequency, a spark, a divine echo of something vast and true. And that truth has always lived within you. The soul's blueprint isn't a secret map locked away in some distant realm. It's been whispering to you through your longings, your loves, your aches, and your questions. Now the invitation is to live from that knowing, to become the embodiment of what you've remembered. If this message stirred something inside you, if it helped you breathe a little deeper, trust a little more, or remember something sacred, you're not alone. Share this with someone whose soul might be waiting for the same spark. Comment with what resonated most. Subscribe to continue exploring this path of inner awakening. Because your life, fully aligned, is not only possible, it's already unfolding. Now walk with intention. Now live it forward.